So my name is Todd. I'm a benefit educator at WestPath, and today we're going to talk about the road to retirement. We call this a pre-retirement because we kind of focus more on the steps that you can take between now and your retirement date. And we'll cover all the different plans, CRSP. Is anybody pre-82? Can I see a show of hands of anybody pre-82? Anybody have pre-82 service? Doesn't look like it. So we'll actually skip that section. So in this case, my boss is right that the presentations will get a little shorter with the advent of not discussing pre-82. However, I've snuck a slide or two in to talk about Compass that we'll cover. So we'll cover all the plans. We'll talk about life stage retirement income. There's some interesting features that have been added over the years to that program. We'll talk housing allowance exclusion in retirement, cover death and disability benefits. We'll talk about participant resources, and I'd love to do a real quick demo of the benefit access website. And we'll use a dummy account. It's nobody's information. It's actually a demo account that we use to demonstrate the functionality of it. And starting tomorrow, you'll also be able to go in and run projections to see what that looks like. We'll also talk about one of the resources being setting up a presentation or setting up a consultation with one of the benefit educators like me. There's a link toward the end of the presentation that you could take a picture of. And I believe Joanne also emailed the slides as a PDF to everyone yesterday. So along with that recording, I'll include the slides, and I'll also include a couple of other documents that are helpful that we'll review today. Does anybody have any questions? Feel free to, we're a small group, so you can unmute and ask your questions. That would be great. Your questions are going to make me more interesting. Also, let me know if I'm covering all the information. So was that the expectation of what you thought today was going to be? Perfect. Got a couple nods, got a smile or two, and a couple of thumbs up. So that's great. So here is the agenda for today. And then sitting in your chair today, you might be thinking, is now the right time? I would love to retire now, but I know for me, I've got about another 7 or 8 years, maybe 9 years. But I'm working with my EY representative, my EY financial planner, to help make that a reality. And EY is a benefit that's available to you as well. EY used to be known as Ernst & Young, but they shortened their name like Starbucks and Dunkin' did. They're no longer Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks Coffee. They're just going by one word. So EY is a resource that we'll talk a lot about today, and they could even help answer some of these questions for you. Are you ready? Are your spouses ready? That's more of a personal question. When I chat about retirement with my wife, it's funny because we go back to when we first started working at home together. So spring of 2020, March of 2020, we were both told to go home and work from home. And I've known my wife, I met her the weekend the Bears won the Super Bowl. So it goes way, way back. That's the last victory that we've had too, but I won't harp on it, I promise. Well, the first day of us working together, we were both in the kitchen, sitting almost side by side, thinking, oh, this is great. By 10:30 that morning, I was in another room. And by the afternoon, I was in the basement, which is where I am today. So we're compatible, but when we work, we have to be in separate spots because I talk too loud. What retirement looks like? We'll see. I think we get along pretty well. So when we talk about retirement for clergy, it's important to just land or begin on what normal retirement is. So this is 65 years of age or 40 years of service. Early retirement is attaining the age of 62 or 30 years of service. Mandatory is 72, and voluntary retirement is at 20 years of service. And then at earliest, the individual that retired with 20 years of service would come back at 62 to begin their benefits. We like to talk a little bit about the process and what it looks like, just so that you're aware. I'll also send you the retirement checklist. The retirement checklist we actually put together a couple of years ago, and it does a nice job of kind of creating a map on what you should do and potentially when you should do it to get ready for retirement. I'll include that on my email tomorrow with your benefit projections. So first of all, register for benefits access. I hope everybody has registered for benefits access. If you haven't, that's okay, but it would be important to go in and get your account set up as soon as possible, because then you'd be able to verify all your personal information, make sure that all of that's correct, confirm that your spouse's information is correct. My wife works for a company. She worked for a company at the time. She'd been there about 22 and a half years, and they'd been on the same benefit system, information system for decades. And a couple summers ago, we went in to look at her retirement benefits, and she was listed as a single employee. The kids were in the benefits section as secondary beneficiaries, which is great, but her work had no record of me. So it's good that we weren't retiring that next day, because we needed to add me, get me set up, so we were able to get that started. So it's always a good idea to go in and check to make sure that all of that information is correct. Easier now to correct than in retirement status. Then also check to make sure that your clergy service record is correct. I'll include that with the benefit projection. And then also verify your beneficiaries. Make sure that those are updated. Kids are typically a secondary beneficiary, but they also tend to move a little bit. So you can always update phone numbers, email addresses, and things like that from your account. So that's kind of a self-service thing. If you do need assistance with any of that, by all means, you can call WestPath Participant Solutions, and we will be able to assist you. And incidentally, WestPath Participant Solutions, that's just customer service. Same great folks. We've done a little bit of reorganization to make it more efficient, but they still do the same wonderful job. Has anybody decided on retiring July 1 of 2025? Yay, congratulations. So for the clergy who are retiring July 1 of 2025, you'll have until Monday, June 30th at 3 p.m. Central to make those benefit choices so that they begin in July. So still ample opportunity to make those choices. In this picture, that's the account summary page, and that's where you'll navigate to make your benefit choices. So you'll notify the Board of Ordained Ministry, the bishop, Joanne at the conference office, and all that funnels through, and then WestPath is notified. And what we do, we'll process that you're retiring July 1 of 25, and we add this link. And I hope you could see that link right there. We refer to that as the link with the gentleman with the glasses. I'm sure it's something more eloquent in our computer department, our IT department, but the benefit educators just call it the link with the gentleman with the glasses. So you'll actually click that link, and then you'll go in and you'll be able to select each benefit, and you'll get to begin each benefit. And if you're not retiring in 2025, maybe July 1 of 2026, Well, you can rest assured that you'll have until the last business day of June in 2026 to make your choices. Here's a picture of the retirement team. So the retirement team is part of customer service, and they work with each year's retiree class. And then if you have a question in retirement status, you can always go back to this group using that phone number to get your questions answered. So we know when you have to make your choices by, you know, who you can ask your questions to if you have a question about retirement. The next key piece is to understand where all your sources of income are coming from. And as you are aware of, the plans have changed over time. So if you began service before 1982, then you'd have service in pre-82. Ministerial pension plan began January of 1982, ran through 2006, and then CRSP is the plan that we're in today. That began 2007. We had a change in 2014, and we're still in that plan right now, and we'll be in CRSP until December of 2025, and then that program will get end dated and Compass begins. So each of those will provide a portion of your retirement income. But you might also have other plans. So your UMPIP, that's an account balance. And again, it's designed to replace some of your income. For married clergy, it's important to understand what your spouse may have from Social Security perspective, from working outside the home. Your spouse also may be able to get half of your Social Security benefit. So you could check with EY on that, or even contact Social Security. Has anybody set up their My Social Security account yet at ssa.gov? I got some thumbs up. That's perfect. That's kind of the next suggested step. If you haven't set that up yet, we encourage you to do so. So you would just type in ssa.gov, and then you'll find the little logo that says create my Social Security account. And the questions that they're going to ask you might surprise you. It could be, what color was your 1978 Chevy Love that you purchased in 1988? That was my first car. So, and the answer to that was powder blue. So they're going to ask you some questions that might get you thinking back to the day. But they take the security of your account very serious, just like Westpath. So that's why they have those in-depth questions. Anybody over the age of 18 can set up their ssa.gov website account, and then you can also go in and check your earnings. I went and I looked, and I'm checking on, I've inquired about my earnings from 1999 to 2000. I remember earning income those 2 years, but Social Security says that I didn't. So I'm checking to see why. I know I worked for a university at that time, so it could be that I wasn't paying into Social Security when I worked there. But it's good to know that now, as opposed to me wanting to take my benefit starting tomorrow. So you'll be able to see all of your earnings. You'll be able to see what your full retirement age benefit is, the reduction if you take it early, and of course the increase if you delay taking it beyond full retirement age. So that is a terrific resource. I had both of my my older kids signed up for their ssa.gov website, and my middle son said, okay, so now this is a password that I'm going to have to remember for 45, 50 years. Yes, you will. Any questions so far? So let's take a look at each of the plans. We won't cover pre-82 today, but we'll start with CRSP. And when we teach CRSP, you'll also notice that MPP is similar. So there's some similarities between MPP and CRSP. So that's the benefit that we're in now. We like to talk about the defined benefit first while our minds are fresh. There's some things that you'll have to think about with the DB. So the defined benefit, that's not an account balance. It's actually a formula. So there's three things that are multiplied together to determine your benefit. And the first is the denominational average compensation, or the DAC. Westpath loves acronyms, so I will explain the acronym as much as possible. If I don't, and you have a question, please ask me to repeat it and explain it. So the DAC, denominational average compensation, is multiplied by a factor of 1.25 or 1%. And there's two service periods for CRSP, and there's a factor for each of those service periods. And then the credited years of service for each service period. So it's pretty simple math. The DAC for 24 is 78,292. The DAC for 2025 is 80,297. So it typically goes up 1% or 2% each year. A provision that was passed at our general conference this last May of 2024 was to automatically index the DAC up each year instead of doing the math. So the concept was there's concern that the DAC would decrease over time with due to disaffiliation. So 2025 was the last year that it was actually calculated longhand, salary divided by the number of clergy and full-time appointments. In 26, we'll automatically index that up or increase it by 2%. And that's how that benefit would get calculated. Service or the factor, first service period, the factor is 1.25. The second service period, the factor is 1%. And if full-time in the first service period, that's 7 years. This is calculated to next June. So for the retirees next June 30th, retiring July 1, that would be 11.5 years of service. So it's pretty straightforward math. DAC multiplied by 1.25, multiplied by 7. It's an annual benefit of just over 7,000. It's paid monthly, so we divide it by 12. So the first service period provides $585 per month. The second service period, we use the same DAC. The factor's 1%, 11.5 years of service, comes out to $92.34. We divide by 12. Now that's $769 for a total benefit of $1,354. So pretty straightforward math there. Any questions on that? We generally say, as a benefit educator, we generally encourage retiring clergy to begin their CRSP defined benefit when they retire, to not delay it, as long as you're at full retirement age. Because if you retire in 25, but you don't take the benefit until 26, we still use the same math. We still use the DAC from 2025. And because you're in retired status, You don't increase the number of years of service. So if you don't begin the benefit in the year in the month that you begin, you basically just lose out on that income. If you're retiring early, let's say if you retire at 62, that benefit is decreased. Okay. The surviving spouse benefit also decreases your initial monthly payment. So these three things impact your initial monthly payment. The surviving spouse benefit, the cost of living adjustment or COLA, we haven't talked about yet, but we will. If you pick a higher COLA, your initial monthly payment will decrease. And then early retirement. And here's what early retirement looks like. So in this example, the clergy person is 63. So they're retiring 2 years early. So we know the monthly amount is $13.54. In this example, Reverend Wesley hasn't met the 40 years of service rule. So Reverend Wesley is retiring 2 years early. It's a 0.5% reduction per month or 6% per year. And with 2 years early, that's a 12% reduction. So we take the $13.54 base amount minus 12%. So that begins at $11.92 per month. Does that make sense? So if Reverend Wesley was 63 years of age, but had 39 years of service, what would the reduction be? You'll always get the better of the two parts of that definition. And what I mean by better, if you have 39 years of service, but you're 63, there'd only be a 6% reduction because you're only retiring 1 year early. You have 39 years of service. If Reverend Wesley was 63, but had 40 years of service, it wouldn't be considered early. Okay. And that's why we say, if you're retiring early, you can decide when you want to take that benefit. You could take it early and have the reduction, or you can retire early and delay taking that payment or delay commencing that benefit. And each month that you delay taking that benefit, the reduction is less. So CRSP-DB, it's a formula, and it's based on those three factors: the DAC, the factor, and the number of years of service. The defined contribution account, that's made up of contributions from your employer. And in pre-retirement, also known as working, also known as active service, this is an account balance that you can see. It's in your benefits access account. It's on your monthly statement, or your quarterly statement, I should say. And that account balance is made up of contributions from your employer. So you'll get a 2% non-match of your annual plan compensation. If you contribute at least 1% into UMPIP, then you'll get an additional 1% match for a total of 3% of your plan comp. You can choose how that's managed. You can self-manage. So that means you choose the funds where those contributions go, or you can use Life Stage Investment Management. And Life Stage Investment Management is one of those autopilot features that selects those contributions, or selects the funds that your contributions go into. And about 80% of the group uses that life stage investment management. And I'll cover more on life stage investment management in a little bit. So that account balance grows tax deferred until retirement. And in retirement, you have options on your cash distributions. So you can take a monthly distribution using life stage retirement income. Life stage investment management manages the money, manages the account balances in active service. Life stage retirement income calculates a monthly payment from your cash balances. In retirement, you might not know how much you can take out and maintain that balance for the long haul. What life stage retirement does, what life stage retirement income does, it does just that. It calculates a monthly payment in a safety zone that's designed to make that payment last a lifetime. And then the other option, you can self-manage. And that just means that you go into your benefits access account and you can tell Westpath how much you'd like to have deposited in your account each month. And you can change it. And technically, you can opt in and use life stage retirement income. You can opt out and self-manage and get back in. So one thing I'd like you to remember is with the cash balances, you have flexibility. You have flexibility on when you can start them, and you can actually change them. You could change how much you wanted, and you could change what you're using to calculate that payment. You can use life stage retirement income or self-manage. So that flexibility is there to help you with that, your retirement needs. Most clergy roll their CRSP DC balance into UMPIP and then take a distribution from there. Who's aware of the term required minimum distribution? Is that a familiar term? Yes. And in required minimum distribution, that's an IRS term. And essentially, that's when the IRS has grown impatient and they would like some tax revenue from you. So the required minimum distribution is the age that you need to begin your benefits. And this includes both the distribution from your cash balances, like CRSP DC, but you'll also need to begin your MPP annuity if you haven't already. What I find interesting is, and everybody on the call is probably aware that required minimum distribution, that date, that age has increased. So back in 2018, when I started with the benefit education presentations on retirement, the RMD back then was 70 and a half. There have been a couple of the Secure Act, the first one, and Secure Act 2.0 pushed the required minimum distributions later. So now it's 73 or 75, depending on your age. All of the cash balances, any remaining balance is paid to beneficiaries upon the participant's death. So any questions about CRSP?
So if something happens to me, then the monthly benefits that came to me, they can continue to your spouse or not?
Yes. Married clergy can pick a joint annuity, and a joint annuity would cover you and your spouse. So if you were to pass away before your spouse, that annuity payment would continue to your spouse, and then any cash balance would be paid to the beneficiary as well. The annuities are life and survivor, or two folks, participant and spouse. Once both participant and spouse pass away, then that benefit would end, but any remaining balance with the CRSP DC, UMPIP, or MPP, or Compass, any cash balance would transfer to beneficiaries.
That was the CRSP defined benefit that we started with, the DAC as well as the DC. Is that the same?
They're different. So the DC is that account balance that's made up of contributions from your employer,
Yeah.
and you can actually see it as an account balance. So
Okay.
that would get paid to beneficiaries if there is a balance remaining in that
Okay.
upon your death.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
And Todd, there's a question that came in: is the bulk payment to beneficiaries upon death? Is it a bulk payment to the beneficiaries upon death, or do they get a monthly?
It would be what would remain. So it would be bulk. It would the remaining account balance would be available for transfer. Yes, with a Roth IRA, that's outside of Westpath. That would be like you would be contributing to a Roth IRA. There's different rules around that. It's like with a Roth IRA, if it goes to a beneficiary, that beneficiary has 10 years to bring that balance to zero. So each of the retirement benefits have different rules. And with the CRS, with the Westpath plans, so the annuities cover for married clergy, 2 people, joint annuity, and then the beneficiaries would receive that bulk monthly, or that bulk payment instead of monthly payments. And then we can go a little bit farther back in time, MPP, 1982 through 2006. As of right now, it's an account balance. And it's an account balance using, a question, does everything on the statement go to beneficiaries? Yes, that would be a good way to look at it. Everything on that statement would be an account balance. So that would be, yes, everything on the statement would go to beneficiaries. Are all these rules for various types of accounts is what keeps the financial advisors employed? Yes. Yes, and keeps the other half employed too, right? The IRS. So there we go. So MPP, your account balance is managed by Life Stage Investment Management. And that's a good thing, because as you've gotten closer to retirement, you may have noticed that Life Stage is moving your account balances away from the equities and putting more into the bonds, the bond funds. And that happens automatically. That happens as part of that service. You do have some options with the MPP. There's 2 options for the 65% of MPP now. General Conference, there was a second option that was passed. So the original way, or the original MPP, was 65% of that account balance becomes lifetime monthly income. You'd pick an annuity. Married clergy can pick a joint annuity. Single clergy would pick a single life annuity. So that 65% becomes that lifetime monthly payment. 35%, the remaining balance, stays an account balance, offering that same flexibility as CRSP, DC, or even UMPIP. So you could start it, you could stop it, you can determine how much you wanted to take out. That 65%, you'll select from the same 6 annuity options that you have available with CRSP DB. And then you'll also pick a cost of living adjustment, or a COLA. And here's just an explanation of that lifetime annuity. We use lifetime annuity as a series of benefit payments that would last through a participant's lifetime. If the clergy person's married, they could pick a joint annuity and it would cover both of their lifetimes. The second option is to move that 65% into life stage retirement income. So basically keeping that 65% as an account balance and then using life stage retirement income to determine a monthly payment. Once you transfer that, or once you have agreed, or once you've indicated that you wanted to maintain as or stay as an account balance, you're not able to go back. So once you select the annuity, once you select the benefit, the transfer to life stage, you're not able to go back. So those are irrevocable decisions. But there's some pros. So the pro to the lifetime annuity, the payment doesn't end until, for a joint annuity, until participant and spouse pass. So 10 years in retirement, 20 years in retirement, 30 years in retirement, 40 years in retirement, that benefit would continue to pay out based on the type of annuity. A single annuity, that would end upon the clergy person's passing. A joint annuity would end upon both clergy person and spouse passing. Option two, keeping that 65% as an account balance, that has some advantages as well. The advantage is that you have control over that money. So if you and your spouse were to pass early on into retirement, then that account balance would be available to get transferred to beneficiaries. That's the pro. The con would be, because it's an account balance, it's not lifetime guaranteed money. So it's possible that you could run out of money. Life stage retirement income is designed to minimize that impact or minimize the chances for that. But so these are two things for the retirees of 2025. These are things that would be a good conversation to have with your financial person, or EY. If EY is your financial group, that would be great. And there's still plenty of time to work through that. For those who aren't retiring this year, you'll still have those two options available, and essentially you have more time to figure out what your plan is. In both cases, that 35% of that account remains an account balance. And here's just another review of that slide. So the 65%, you can choose to annuitize it. You get to pick your annuity option, the annuity type, the cost of living adjustment, or you could move that into the life stage retirement income and then take a monthly installment from that. Any questions about that?
Yes, so the lifetime annuity never runs out. Is that what I'm gathering?
That is correct, yes. Yes, I like to say, if we see you on Good Morning America, you're at 120 years old and you're running the New York Marathon, you'd still be receiving that payment.
Thank you.
Sure. Perfect. So now let's look at the 6 annuity types. And you'll see across the top, this is MPP and CRSP. So these are the annuity types for both MPP and CRSP DB. Life and survivor means it's a joint annuity, covers the life of the clergy person, and then that percentage is the percentage of the payment that continues on to the surviving spouse. So all of the annuity types always begin with life covers the life of the clergy person. And then we'll move over to the payable to you column. That would be payable to the clergy person. So you'll see the largest payment is life in 70 to the clergy person. Clergy person passes away, life in 70, the spouse would receive 70% of 1235. So that comes out to 865. And I've heard clergy say, oh, Todd, what other options do you have? My husband will need some additional income. My wife will need some additional income. So life in 85, it's interesting. It only drops $30 for the clergy person. So now it's 1205, but it comes up about 160 for the surviving spouse. So now that payment's 1,024. And then life in 100, the payment the clergy person was receiving is the payment the surviving spouse would receive. So there's no reduction. So lowest payment for clergy, life in 100. Highest payment for clergy is life in 70. And incidentally, these payments are calculated based off of a $400,000 account balance and a 2% COLA, and it being a joint annuity, so covering both clergy and spouse. With the single life annuity, same thing, $400,000 account balance, 2% COLA. It's a lot easier table, right? There's only two columns. We have annuity type. All three begin with life, so covers the life of the clergy person. And you look at the payable to you, that's payable to the clergy person, $1,395. So that went up significantly. It went up another $160. And the reason why that went up $160, it's only covering one lifetime. The two additional annuities, life and 5 years certain and life and 10 years certain. That means that that payment will continue for at least 5 years. So with life and 5 years certain, the payment's $1,386. So it's about, what, $9 less. If the clergy person retires at 65, picks 5 years certain, passes away at 68, so they received a payment for 3 years, and they picked 5 years certain. That means the person they picked to receive those payments would then continue to receive those payments for another 2 years. And at 5 years, that payment would stop. So retire at 65, pass away at 68. The person that they designated to receive those payments would begin to receive $1,386 for another 2 years. So it guarantees that payment. In the same week, a couple of years ago, I had two clergy say, Todd, I'm picking life in 5 years certain because I'm helping my granddaughter, my grandson in college. I want to make sure that if I were to pass away, they would continue to receive that money. Now, life in 5 years certain, at 5 years, that payment doesn't end if the clergy person's still alive. Payments will continue for their lifetime. So they pick life in 5 years certain, they retire at 65, they pass away at 95. They had a wonderful 30-year retirement. They've outlived that certain period, that guaranteed period. So that means that payment would end. It converts back into a single life annuity. But you pass away within that term, that payment will continue for that term and then end. So does that make sense? Perfect. So the COLA, the cost of living adjustment, with the WestPath plans, you get to pick your COLA. If you have MPP, you could actually pick a 0% COLA. And then with MPP or CRSPDB, you could pick 2, 3, 4, or 5 in whole numbers. And that's your choice. Your COLA for MPP doesn't have to be the same as your COLA for CRSP DB. They can be different. That COLA, though, does impact your initial monthly payment. My boss, Bob, likes to say, the higher the COLA, the lower your initial monthly payment. The lower your payment, you'll have a lower payment right out of the gate heading into retirement. So purple is 2%, and that initial monthly payment is about $1,700. So we have income, monthly income along the left here, and then age along the bottom. And then each year that payment goes up 2% per year. And that's the default for WestPath. Now, the last 200 years, inflation's been 2%. The last 30 years, inflation's averaged 3%. And it's been higher than that the last couple. So it's great that you're able to pick your own COLA. 5% brings your payment down to about $1,200. But with longevity, a 5% COLA would provide the highest monthly payment. Lowest initial, with longevity, it would provide the highest payment. Now, a 0% COLA, that's an interesting concept. We used to have clergy say, oh, I'm going to take a 0% COLA on my MPP because it's going to give me extra income. You could see that's about $2,100, $2,200 per month. So the concept here was, I'm going to take a 0% COLA on MPP. I'm going to delay taking my Social Security beyond full retirement age. Was if you delay it taking full retirement age, if you delay it beyond full retirement age, that benefit goes up each month, about 8% per year. So that's one way to look at your Social Security and some of your WestPath benefits. I do have another option for that 0% MPP that I'll talk about in a little bit. So if we look at 3 and 4%, yellow and green, they just kind of fall in line. The higher the COLA, the lower the initial monthly payment. With longevity, a higher COLA provides a higher monthly payment. Does that make sense? Perfect. When you have that link to the gentleman with the glasses, you'll be able to go in and look at how that COLA impacts your initial monthly benefit. It'll actually fluctuate real time. So what we'll see in the demo today, you'll see a payment associated with life in 70, life in 85, life in 100. And then down at the bottom, we're able to adjust the COLA, 2%, 3%, 5%, and see those numbers change. I know for a fact EY loves talking about COLAs because that's a broader picture of the economy, what their vision of what the future looks like with inflation. And then so they're able to provide some insight on that. So MPP is an account balance. That means that you have flexibility. You can actually leave it with WestPath untouched until RMD. And RMD is 73. That's for individuals born 1951 through 1958. And if you're born 1959 or later, your RMD is 75. So you could actually leave your MPP account. Let's say you retire next July. You know what? I'm going to go work part-time, or I've got other investments. I don't need to begin MPP yet. You can wait until 73 or 75. You have those two options with the 65% portion. So you can move that into life stage retirement income and then take monthly payments, or you can annuitize it. If there aren't enough options yet for MPP, you still have one more. At the time of retirement, you can take the 35% and roll it into UMPIP and then wait on commencing that 65% benefit. So you can wait until at some point in the future, up until RMD, to decide, do I annuitize or do I take the balance? So lots of options. EY is aware of all of the options with MPP. So that would be a productive conversation to have with them to see what you're going to do with that benefit. And when? Begin at July 1, the year you retire, or at some point after that? Any questions about MPP? Perfect. And pre-82, we don't have anybody on the call today with pre-82 bennies, right? Perfect. It's a terrific benefit. It's there to provide additional income for those who have service during that period of time. But given our audience today, we can skip it. So UMPIP, this is where your contributions go. UMPIP is a defined contribution plan. So it's an account balance. You could see what your account balance is in your benefits access account and also on your quarterly statements. Your contributions go into that account from your paycheck. It's a payroll deduction. Those contributions grow tax deferred until you take a distribution. You also have the ability to determine how you're investing. So your investment options include self-manage. So you can select your funds. And I did that for a while. I've self-managed, picked my 30% of my contribution should go into US equity. 20% should go into the fixed income. So that's self-managed. Life stage investment management makes those decisions for you. So there's a couple ways to contribute to your UMPIP account. What we see here are the two most common ways to contribute: before tax and Roth. So for 2024, you can contribute $23,000 in before tax and Roth contributions. Over 50, you can contribute an additional $7,500 in catch-up contributions for a total of $30,500. Big number. But what we recommend, what we suggest is to contribute what you can reasonably afford. Each year, if my wife and I get a raise, we increase our respective contribution amounts up. We increase it by 1% each year, the years that we get raises. So it's a nice way to beef up that account. So Roth and before tax, they have each have some unique pros, and EY would be a terrific resource to determine if which is best for you, and maybe it's even a combination. So before tax contribution, that means that those contributions come off your earnings before you pay income tax. So it reduces what you pay in taxes each month, each year. Those contributions grow tax deferred until you take a distribution in retirement. At that point, you're taxed. Being retired clergy, though, you have that housing allowance exclusion, that will allow you to exclude income that you receive from Westpath from federal taxes. So definitely a key piece there. Roth contributions, I think we started these probably about 7 or 8 years ago. A Roth contribution, this is a Roth contribution to your 403B, a Roth contribution to your UMPIP. So this is different than a Roth contribution to your Roth IRA. The benefits are similar in that those contributions in both cases grow tax deferred until you take a distribution. If you meet both of these criteria, then that distribution is tax-free. And the first is that you needed to begin contributing on a Roth basis 5 years before you start taking a withdrawal. So your Roth contributions need to be at least 5 years old. And you need to be at least 59 and a half years of age. And then those distributions become tax-free from your Roth contributions. So a terrific way to lower your taxes. And EY is a wonderful resource to help land on that. I had a conversation with them not too long ago about that. Another way to contribute to your UMPIP account is through a rollover. So the IRS allows plans that are typically called IRS qualified. That would be a 401k, a 403b, a 457b. So those are plans potentially from a prior employer or a traditional IRA. They can be rolled into your UMPIP account. And that would boost your UMPIP balance, which would then boost your LSRI, your life stage retirement income monthly payment. So the IRS allows them to move around, or allows you to move them around. I rolled over a plan that I had from the University of Illinois at Chicago. I rolled that over probably 4 or 5 years ago, and really easy process. I did that with the incoming rollover form. Took 3-4 weeks for it to go through. Essentially what you'll do, you'll complete that incoming rollover form, send it to Westpath, and then Westpath takes charge of moving those funds from the prior plan into your UMPIP. And of course, EY is available to help with any of those questions related to tax, things like that. An after-tax contribution, we probably saw this here in the front. So $30,500 in Roth and before tax contributions. If you have more to contribute, you can actually continue to contribute on an after-tax basis up to $69,000 or 100% of your income, whichever is lower. I would love to be able to contribute that much each year, but I think I would need I'd need 2 full-time jobs. But that's kind of how it's designed. Most folks contribute on a before tax and Roth basis. And then if there's wanted to contribute more than $30,500, being over the age of 50, you can do so on an after-tax basis. And that Westpath UMPIP contribution election form is what's used to change your contribution amount. You can also use that to change the contribution type. So any question on UMPIP? Yes, I see the Dakotas lower cost of living in general. Illinois doesn't tax retirement benefits. Don't tell the governor. Don't tell the legislature, because that's terrific. Not every state does that. We have higher taxes in general, but as my wife and I get closer to retirement, we're looking at potentially relocating. and maybe join you in the Dakotas. Perfect. So Compass is coming. That plan will start January 1 of 2026. For active clergy, that just means that CRSP, DC, and DB, it just gets end dated. And then benefits will begin accruing in Compass. The benefits that you've earned won't go away. They'll be there for you when you're ready to retire. For those who are already retired, there's no impact whatsoever. There's 3 types of contributions each month into your Compass account. So beginning January 1 of 2026, there's a $150 per month flat dollar contribution. That will get increased 2% per year in $5 increments. Then there's pay dependent contribution. That 3%, that's kind of like CRSP DC, right? So that's 3%. So 3% of pensionable pay goes into your Compass account from your employer automatically. And then there's a dollar for dollar match up to 4%. So if you put in 1% into Compass, your employer will match 1%. You put in 4, they'll match 4. You put in 5, that's terrific. That's more income going into that account. That's great. You'll still receive that 4% contribution. There's also some additional features that will provide credit for making qualified student loan payments. So if you're making a student loan payment, that would qualify as matching contribution. So your employer would then match that payment, not to your loan, but match the amount of that payment up to 4% in your Compass account. Any questions about Compass? So let's just run through. How are we doing on time? 10:30. Everybody doing okay? Would you like a break? This will go for about another 45 minutes, and then an hour, and then we'll take a break as I get ready to do the demo. I'll pull up a demo account. So are we doing okay now, or did you want to take a break? Looks like we're okay. Got some head nods. Perfect. Westpath, as you know, Westpath practices sustainable investing. There are screens that Westpath doesn't invest in that upholds the values of the UMC. There are 11 different funds, I believe. We just added the U.S. Equity Index Fund and a couple additional benefits. Life Stage Investment Management, there's no additional cost to enroll in that. Life Stage Investment Management, its brother or sister, Life Stage Retirement Income. Those are both terrific features, and both are definitely advantages. This is a section that tends to put folks to sleep. So we're just going to cover the highlights. And the key piece is to understand the category and the goal of the category. Because if you understand the goal of the category, you'll understand the goal of the fund and what they're designed to do. We'll talk about these in the order from conservative to more aggressive. These are also listed this way in your benefits access account and also shown this way on your quarterly statement. So Capital Preservation Fund, the name of that fund is the stable value. The category is capital preservation. You could think of this as a savings account or as a money market account, the goal for these funds are safety. And I've had young clergy say, oh, I'm going to put all my money in there because it sounds safe. Sounds like I won't lose any money. And yes, but the risk is there isn't enough potential growth there to grow your money. So the risk for a young clergy would be they put their money in there and it's not going to multiply, or it's not going to grow as if it were in the other types of funds. So this is really reserved for retirees when the preservation of capital is important. The next group of funds are bond funds. And a bond means that you just lent somebody money, you lent a company money, you lent a municipality, the local village money to resurface their roads. So you lend them money and then they pay you back in interest. The goal of the bond funds or income funds is to provide a higher rate of return or higher income than what you'd get from the capital preservation or stable value fund. These funds are also in order from conservative to more aggressive within that category. So a bond fund means you just lent them some money. What you're getting back is interest. When the bonds are due, you get the principal and you finish up with the rest of the interest payments. The equity funds at the bottom, an equity fund means those are stocks. The goal for the stock funds are long-term growth. These are also in order from conservative. Well, these are also in order from aggressive to more aggressive. These are also really large. I want to say the U.S. equity fund is around $6 billion. That invests in large, medium, and small companies that are traded primarily in the U.S. The International Equity Fund trades or owns shares of companies or stocks of companies that are traded outside of the U.S. And the U.S. Equity Fund, the U.S. Equity Index Fund, that mimics the Russell 3000, which are 3,000 companies that are traded in the U.S. And that is a passive index fund. So basically, those companies are purchased based on the weight of how they are represented in the Russell 3000. There are a number of companies that are removed. So if they don't meet our screenings, where if they invest in firearms, alcohol, tobacco, those types of things, those are our standard screens. Those companies are actually removed. So equities, it's a stock. That means ownership. And that also means the goal is long-term growth. When I helped my daughter set up her 403B contributions, and when she started at her job in January, she put down that she was conservative, and she still had 85% in stocks and 15% in bonds. And she went, well, why is it still so high in stocks? It's like, honey, you're 23 years old. You've got 44, 45 years until you retire. So you can make up for any down years. And historically, stocks provide a higher rate of return than bonds. But on any given day, you could have a blip down, anything goes. Well, she has plenty of years to make up for any blip down or any decrease. As we get closer to retirement, the concern is we might not have enough time to make up for that down year or for that down period. So that's why life stage investment management makes that change, moves you away from equities the closer we get to retirement. The balanced fund is also known as a growth and income fund, growth from stocks and income from bonds. And this fund is made up of, the multiple asset fund is made up of 4 Westpath funds. combination of U.S. equity, international equity, and then two of the bond funds. And then for individuals with a heightened focus on a company's environmental and social performance, we do have a couple social values choice suite of funds, the social values choice equity fund, and then a couple of bond fund as well. These also take into account resolutions passed at annual conference. And this is a nice visual of the last couple of slides. So each of the WestPath funds are placed on the graph relative to their risk and potential return. So down in the lower left-hand corner, stable value fund, low risk, also low potential return. As we go up and to the right, the potential return goes up, but also the risk, the commensurate risk. Oop, is there a question?
There was one question that came in. It was just a general question asking if a nursing home can force anyone to cash out their balances to pay for care if it's a private pay. And the question came about because they and their wife have a nursing home insurance, but it only cover partial monthly bills for the nursing home care.
I've heard there are, I don't know about the legality of it, but my parents are, or even the tax consequences of it, but my parents are mid-80s and they are looking around at retirement centers, long-term care facilities, and that was one of the things that came up as they were searching around in suburban Detroit. The investment options, so you could actually, we come back to the familiar terms from WestPath. So self-manage, that means you can do it yourself. So you can actually self-manage your investments in active service and in retirement. You can use life stage investment management in retirement, but also in active service to direct those investments. And in both cases, you can always talk to EY about those asset allocations, whether you're doing it yourself or even if you are in life stage investment management. So life stage investment management has been around for a long time. It's actually life stage investment management and life stage retirement income has won awards from industry publications. And what they're designed to do is place your accounts on autopilot. So it's kind of like we hop on an airplane. We don't have to check in with the pilot to see how they're doing. Hey, do you need a cup of coffee? You know, knock, knock, knock on the cockpit door. You don't have to do that with Life Stage. It'll take care of that selection for you and the management of. But we also would still like you to go in on a regular basis. Maybe it's once a quarter. And take a look at your quarterly statements, see how things are performing, and to see if there's anything that can be tweaked. The fund allocations are tailored to each participant based on those variables. So your age. So if you're 25 years old and saying that you're a conservative investor, it would still look like an aggressive investor in their mid-50s. An aggressive investor in the mid-50s, you'll still have some money in bonds. And as we go from mid-50s into our early 60s, getting ready to retirement, it will move away from, it'll move out of equities and put more into bonds, still keeping a little bit in the equities for that long-term growth. Okay, it's still important to get long-term growth. So the variables, age, when you're going to retire, when you're going to begin those benefits, your risk tolerance, and that's something that you can adjust. Moderate or conservative, moderate, aggressive. I've been a moderate investor my whole life. I'm adverse to losing money. So, but you can always adjust between those three options. The availability or eligibility of Social Security benefits and then other WestPath benefits like MPP also help to dictate that your allocations. So the goal is to create that diversified portfolio, not to put all of your eggs in one basket. Another great feature of life stage investment management is that it will rebalance your account as needed. So following the end of a quarter, if a particular area has grown or drifted, then outside of that profile, outside of here, then it will automatically sell what grew and redistribute that among the other funds. So effectively, it's selling high and buying low with the goal of making sure that it's a diversified portfolio. If you're self-managing, you should go in and look at how your funds are performing and then make any changes as needed. But with LifeStage, it'll do that automatically. You can opt into LifeStage by going to your benefits access account, navigating to LifeStage. You can opt in, and what we recommend is if you're opting in, opt in and then complete the rest of the profile, where you'll get to choose your risk tolerance, conservative, moderate, or aggressive. If you don't check that, you'll be automatically put into moderate. Benefit commencement age is 65 and that you're eligible for Social Security, and that might not match your profile or who you are as an investor. So just make sure that you complete that. And here's a visual of that rebalancing. And again, terrific feature of life stage investment management. So you'll see that the numbers are a little different from left to right. So before the rebalance and then after the rebalance. So it goes in and just aligns everything based on your profile. Westpath.org has a ton of information. All the funds are traded daily, so at the conclusion of each day, you can go in and see the fund share value. The descriptions are there, comparative results. You can actually look to see what each fund invests in. So the U.S. equity fund, you'll see companies like Alphabet, which is the parent company of Google. You'll see NVIDIA. You'll see large, medium, and small companies. It's actually about 45, 50 pages of a PDF that of companies that make up the U.S. equity fund. You'll see the fees and benchmarks and all that great stuff. In retirement, your UMPIP account has the same options as the other account balances, MPP, CRSP, DC, and soon Compass. So it's your choice on how you'd like to receive the money, and you can change that at any time. So if you didn't need the money come July 1 that you retire, you could let this account sit until required minimum distribution. And sit would mean it's still invested in Westpath funds. You could take a full lump sum distribution, so you roll that out. You could take a partial lump sum distribution, 5,000, 10,000, maybe going on the vacation, maybe rehabbing the primary residence. You know, that is up to you, but you could take lump sums from your cash account. Another option would be to set up a cash installment or a monthly payment, a monthly distribution. And the same two terms are shown here. Self-managed, so you could put in, you could say, Westpath, I'd like $500 a month. And then let's say you're working part-time the first couple of months out of into retirement, so you don't need a full the full amount. But then come October, you're like, okay, I'm going to retire. I'm done with my part-time stint. You can go in and adjust your monthly payment, either by doing like you still self-managing, or you could use that life stage retirement income, and that's that payment calculator. And life stage actually does three things that I'll cover in the next couple of slides. So life stage retirement income, it's designed to optimize the monthly payment from your DC plans, from your account balances. So life stage retirement income, it predates me. I've been here since 2012, and it was first put in place to calculate a monthly payment for you. And we like to say that it calculates a monthly payment in a safety zone. So we like to use a goalpost example. So in retirement, clergy or retirees can do two different things, or two habits that are both can be detrimental to retirement. So on the right-hand side, this goalpost, or left-hand side, this goalpost is taking the money out too quickly. So when you take the money out too quickly, you exhaust the account, and then that monthly payment goes away. That's not good. The other goalpost is you're not sure how much money you can take out each month. So you take out less and less and less. And while that's less detrimental to your retirement, it also means that you're not living the retirement you were dreaming of, that you were hoping to have. So instead of taking the photography class and buying the new camera, you decide not to, you sell a car. So essentially in retirement, your lifestyle takes a couple steps down. Well, what life stage retirement income is designed to do is to kick that football right down between the goalposts. So we like to say that it calculates a payment in a safety zone with the goal of making that account or that payment last a lifetime, and then providing an increase each year. Because it's an account balance based payment, we can't say guaranteed, but we can say it offers excellent probability that a payment will continue for your lifetime. Okay. Each November, the new payment is calculated. In December, you'll get notified what that new payment is. And then in January, that new payment will begin. In Benefits Access, there's a modeling tool that you're able to see how that monthly payment is calculated. And you can even choose how much of your account balances to be used in that monthly payment calculation. So let's say your cash balance is $500,000. So you could have life stage retirement income, calculate a payment from that $500,000 balance, or you can commit a smaller number, $450,000, $250,000. That's up to you. That's your choice. And by keeping money outside of that calculation, so let's say your account balance is $500,000. Let's say you tell life stage retirement income to calculate a payment using $450,000. So that's your payment estimate. That additional $50,000 still invested in Westpath, still here, and it's still available for you to take a distribution. Let's say, you know what? Primary residence, I know in my house, in the next 4 or 5 years, I'm going to need a new roof. So I'm saving for that. So I could say, I'm going to save $20,000 for the roof. So I wouldn't include that money in my life stage retirement income payment. Turns out the new roof is only $15,000. So now I still have that $5,000 sitting there, and I could choose when to take that distribution. So you can always set aside money for future use. There's no direct cost to participants using the life stage investment management or life stage retirement income. It's included in the costs of operating everything. Let's say my example with, so 500,000 was the cash account balance. Let's say we're only going to use life stage with 450,000 because I want to replace that roof in 5 years. Let's say my wife and I decide not to replace the roof. We're going to move to a retirement community. That $50,000 is still under my control. It's still invested with WestPath. I can always move that money into the life stage equation or keep it separate. So you can always add more funds to that life stage retirement income. The two additional features that were added spring of 2022 was the Social Security bridge and longevity income protection. So the Social Security bridge allows you to delay taking Social Security. So my full retirement age is 67. And let's say I retire at 67, I'm going to delay taking Social Security until 70. That means my Social Security benefit increased 8% per year for an increase of 24% if I take it at 70. Between 67 and 70, though, I'm going to need some income, that income that would have been my Social Security. So with that Social Security bridge, life stage retirement income will supplement or make up that Social Security benefit. So you're not going without, you're just getting that money from life stage instead of from Social Security. When you apply for Social Security or when you begin taking Social Security, then that life stage retirement income payment would get leveled down or decrease. And now your Social Security payment's larger. So that Social Security bridge just changes where you receive that benefit from. The Social Security bridge, you'll get your Social Security income, that amount from your life stage retirement income payment. When you begin taking Social Security after full retirement age, then what you're receiving from life stage retirement income will be leveled down. And I've got a good visual in a slide or two. Longevity income protection is actually a deferred annuity, and you'd purchase this at the time of retirement or at the time of beginning your benefit. And that longevity income protection, you'd pay for it that July 1, and it would begin at 80. And for single clergy, it would be a single life annuity. For married clergy, it would be a life and survivor annuity. It'd be life and 70, so the spouse would receive 70%. The pro here would be it's additional income beginning at 80. And this is lifetime income. If married, then it's a joint annuity. Okay. The con would be you'd need to get to 80 to begin those payments, both participant and spouse. So if both of you were to pass away before 80, then that benefit wouldn't begin. So definitely some things to think about. If you're considering the Social Security bridge and the longevity income protection, we recommend having a conversation with EY just to work through all the different pros and cons.
There was a question, Todd.
Oh, sure.
There was a question about the opposite scenario with Social Security, since it's projected to decrease by 2034. If Congress doesn't act to extend it, is there just an opposite scenario for that Social Security?
Well, when we'll have EY here later today, and that would be a great question for our presenter. Catherine. When I hear when I hear EY financial planners respond to that question, and usually the question is, well, what's going to happen in 2035 when Social Security can't pay? They usually take a deep breath and say their belief and EY's belief as a company, it's too big to fail. And there are a number of solutions, and it's unlikely that the older group is going to be subject to that. So their belief is it'll get shored up, it'll get fixed. Right now, they have enough in the funds to cover 100% of the liability or 100% of what they need to pay until 2034. And then at that point, they're only able to cover 80%. Well, it's their belief that the Congress will act because it's too big of a benefit. For example, if you're making about $50,000 a year, the Social Security payment in retirement would make up about 40% of your monthly income. That's a big chunk. So their belief, EY's belief, is that they're going to fix it. And that means that the younger generation, their full retirement age will likely get pushed back. So instead of 67, it could be a higher date or a later date. They could change the amount that's paid in. They could change the threshold, the upper limit. So it's like 150. So if you make more than 150 or 160,000 a year, you're not taxed on anything above like 160. So the Social Security payment ends if you're making more than like 150, 160 a year. That'll likely get pushed up too. So the idea is the younger generation is going to feel some pain with regards to shoring up Social Security. Does that make sense? I hope it's true, because I'll be in that too. By 2034, I think I'll be retired by then. So this example shows retirement beginning. So this is 65, this is 67. This is your life stage payment. If you have CRSP DB, if you have MPP annuity, those payments are coming also. This is just that life stage payment. So in this example, let's say my full retirement age benefit at 67 is $1,500. And my life stage payment was calculated to be $1,500. So this represents $3,000 a month beginning at retirement. And then at 67, now I'm taking Social Security. Social Security is 24% bigger. So now I have more income from Social Security. My income has gone up because I've had the increases in life. I've had the increase in Social Security applied here. So now let's say it's $2,000 in Social Security and $1,000 in life stage. And that would be at 70. And then this example also uses that longevity income protection. So then at 80, longevity income kicks in, that annuity. Social Security has also grown throughout the years. And you'll see that my life stage, my reliance on life stage has decreased again. So these three options, the life stage retirement income monthly payment, Social Security bridge, and longevity income protection, these are things to consider. Is it right for me? What is my health like? What is my spouse's health like? Longevity, family longevity. Longevity for my family, well, we're probably mid-80s. My wife's family, they're in their mid-90s and still playing paddleball, pickleball. So my family's watching them play. Based on that, we're planning on longevity for my wife. So if you've opted out of Social Security, or if you're already taking Social Security, then you wouldn't be able to use the Social Security bridge. Another factor would be, do you have other income? Is there another, do you have an annuity or other retirement plans outside of Westpath? Any questions on Social Security bridge, life stage retirement income, longevity income protection? Okay. Required minimum distributions. This is an IRS term. It's either 73 or 75. I've got a nice visual of what that looks like in the next slide. Most clergy are well into their retirement plans and retirement payments by the time they reach the required minimum distribution. Westpath will help keep track of that for you. Another good feature is the Secure Act 2.0 that was signed in December of 22 actually lowered the penalty. The penalty used to be 50%. So if you needed to take a required minimum distribution of $10,000, the IRS would fine you or tax you $5,000, 50% of your RMD. Now it's only 25%. Still egregious, still high. Westpath will help keep track of that for you. Once you begin taking RMDs, you'll need to continue to take RMDs. Westpath uses the December 31st balance to calculate that. That calculation includes longevity tables, as well as the size of the account balance and a bunch of other features to come up with the amount that needs to be distributed each year. So I think our communications department did a great job with this. So if you're born 51 to 58, your RMD is 73. If you're born 59 or later, your RMD is 75. When you take an RMD, Westpath is required to withhold 10% of that for federal taxes. If you take a partial or full distribution, Westpath is required to withhold 20% of that distribution. And effectively, that's just prepaying your taxes. Each January, you'll get a 1099-R that will show what you received from Westpath and whether or not any income tax was withheld. We covered this a little bit. So for the 2025 retirees, you'll want to make your elections by Monday, June 30th. For those who are retiring in 26 or later, you could just have in the back of your mind, you'll need to make that benefit choice by the last business day in June. For 25, the first payments will land approximately July 7th. Westpath takes 3 business days to annuitize everything, double check everything, and then provide those distributions. The July 4th holiday will also have an impact as well. But beginning in August, your first monthly payment will be, you'll get 2. On the first business day of the month, you'll receive the annuity payments, so CRSP-DB and the MPP annuity. The cash installment will occur on the second or third business day each month. So you won't have to worry about running out to the mailbox. Although the activity is good, but you won't have to worry about that to go run and cash the check. Those will all happen electronically. So the housing allowance exclusion, I'll also include this when I send it to you via email. The housing allowance exclusion in retirement is a wonderful tax saving opportunity for clergy. The amount that you get to withhold is dependent on you and your situation. So it's the amount that the amount that you spent on housing, the amount that your home would rent for. All of those are going to be different from person to person. How the benefit is applied, though, is the same. and it will be the least of these. What you can exclude is the smallest of these three numbers. The first one is easiest. It's what passed at annual conference, and it is generally it's generally written that 100% of what you receive from WestPath can be excluded. That gets passed as a resolution each annual conference. So I believe annual conference of 2024 passed the resolution for 2025. So you're able to see that in the conference journal. The second is you'll need to keep track of what you spent for housing. And of course, this is for your primary residence. So on this form, there's 7 or 8 different categories of homeowner expenses, including mortgage interest, rent payments, mortgage principal payments, property taxes, maintenance expenses, gas for the lawnmower, Windex and paper towels to wash the windows. All of those are includable. Utilities, furnishings, electric, gas, water, all of that would be the cost of living in that primary residence. And the form does a good job so that you can total that up. And then the third piece, you can work with a local real estate person or a local appraiser, and they'll actually come up with a fair rental value of your home and what it would rent for that period of time, including utilities and furnishings. And then what you'd exclude would be the least of those three numbers. So in this example, Reverend Waters received $24,000 in pension from WestPath. 100% of that was designated as the housing allowance exclusion in Reverend Waters' conference. Reverend Waters spent $20,000 on housing that year, and their home would rent for $21,000. So that means the housing allowance exclusion can't exceed $20,000. So then all we do is we subtract $20,000 in the amount from the amount that you received from WestPath. So 20,000 minus 24,000, that means you're taxed on only $4,000. So a terrific tax break. That amount can change. Obviously, if you've paid your home off, then you wouldn't have the mortgage payment, the interest payment, the principal payment, but you would still have other expenses to live in that home. Homeowners insurance, property taxes, furnishings, things like that.
If the clergy passes away, is the spouse still able to use the housing allowance exclusion?
Only if the the surviving spouse is retired clergy. So it's not transferable if the spouse isn't clergy, unfortunately. And it is available only for the primary residence. On the back page of that document, I like to read this because I think it kind of puts into the frame of mind of the housing allowance exclusion. So the fourth paragraph, it'll say, I received X. So in this example, I received $24,000 from the UMC Benefit Board, Inc., as reported on the attached 1099-R. I didn't include $20,000 of this amount on line 5B because it had been excluded under the provisions of Section 107 of the Internal Revenue Code as a housing allowance exclusion. As a United Methodist clergy person, I'm entitled to take this housing allowance exclusion. So if you use somebody to help calculate your taxes, I would definitely pass this along to them. I will pass this along to you in the form of an email tomorrow afternoon. Are there any questions on the housing allowance exclusion? Perfect. Great group. You can see that I am not suffering. I'm enjoying the sun on my face, but it's a little distracting for me. So let's go. Let's just run through these benefits real quick. We tend not to take a lot of time. We just use this as a reminder that there are death and disability benefits for active clergy, and then death benefits for retired clergy. And here are the different death benefits. So there's active and retiree clergy death benefit, as well as spouse death benefit, surviving spouse benefit. There is an eligibility criteria for the retiree death. And first is you would need to be eligible to receive a benefit at the time of retirement from CRSP. And then you'll need to be enrolled in CPP for either 12 of the last 15 or as an active participant in the last 25 years. If you're wondering about that, you can always call the WestPath Participant Solutions, and they can alert you of that. Beginning in January of 25, there's a flat dollar benefit for retirees and active participants and dependents. In 24 and previous, it used to be based off of a percentage of the DAC. Now it's just a flat dollar death benefit. And then in active service, there is the long-term disability available. The definition of disability is unable to perform duties due to injury or illness for at least 6 continuous months. If you're on disability, you'll need to re-qualify on a periodic basis. You'll be working with the disability team in the benefit plans department on this. The salary is 70% of the pre-disability plan compensation. That amount gets indexed up 3% per year. And then should you move on to or begin the Social Security disability, there's an offset dollar for dollar. So essentially, let's say your 70% pre-disability plan compensation is $2,500. Then Social Security begins, and that's $1,000. So essentially, your disability payment would be decreased from $2,500 to $1,500 because disability payment would make up that additional $1,000 for a total of $2,500. So you'll be made whole through that process. Any questions on the previous benefits? Perfect. Let's talk a little bit about some of the resources. The benefit projection, I'm happy to say that the benefit projection will include a compass component. So what you'll see the benefit projection or benefit commencement date right up here at the top. And then there's 3 different sections of that benefit projection. At the top, lifetime income. The 3 plans that fit under lifetime income include CRSP-DB, MPP, and Pre-82. You'll have a subtotal of those benefits that you're available for up here. In this example, it's $3,070. In the middle section, these are the account balances. And what we ask the projection to do is to calculate a monthly payment using life stage retirement income. And then you'll have the corresponding monthly payment from each of those account balances on what that account balance is expected to be at the time of retirement. The 3rd page of the projection, you'll be able to scroll down, you'll be able to see the current value of your account balances and then the projected account balances that's used in the estimated monthly payment portion. Down at the bottom, we like to call out the estimated income replacement ratio. This doesn't include Social Security. This only includes the WestPath benefits. So it looks like this participant, their replacement ratio is 79%. That means their WestPath plans as shown above, will replace 78% of their working income. The higher the number, the better, or the higher the percentage, the better. The good news for retired clergy, you won't have to pay SECA taxes. So that's at least a reduction in expenses, right? 12% you won't have to pay. So you could add probably 30, 35% on top of that number. So this clergy person, looks like 76%. This clergy person would actually be making more money in retirement than while working. That's a wonderful situation. So here's the phone number and URL for the EY Financial Services. This is unlimited telephonic consultation. It could be something as large as, how much can I afford in housing in retirement? What does purchasing a home look like? What does it, what's the process look like? Where do I start? Okay, they can help with all that. They can also help you understand what your income will look like from, including Social Security. If you have retirement plans outside of WestPath, they can review those as well. Your spouse's income, the COLA, what COLA should you pick? What does inflation, what is their belief about inflation? What does that look like from a financial perspective for the next 10, 15, 20 years? How can you secure a down payment for a house in retirement? Actually, you can take a loan from UMPIP. Instead of a loan, should you take a distribution? What are the pros and cons of that? So they can walk you through all of that. WestPath also offers consultations with a benefit educator. So that URL right there will take you to what's called Sign Up Genius. And Sign Up Genius, you'll be able to pick a time and date of your consultation. We'll send out a Teams meeting, and then when we meet on that time and day, we meet on Teams, we secure the call, and then it's your time. They're typically 30 minutes in length. If there's more to talk about, we can always sign up. We can always schedule another consultation. If you haven't registered for benefits access yet, we encourage you to do that as soon as you can. Also, to review those beneficiary designations. Beneficiaries can change. For example, in the case of death or marriage, you're adding or removing a beneficiary, or in the case of divorce, those circumstances can change who that beneficiary is. We want you to know that it's important to keep benefit access beneficiaries updated. WestPath pays out beneficiaries based on who's in benefits access. So it's important that if there's a life-changing moment that you update those beneficiaries. And in the case of my spouse, to make sure that they're there. Some more action planning. Take a look at your UMPIP contribution rate. Can you increase that? Review life stage. Are you in life stage? Take a look at that. Starting tomorrow, you'll also be able to run that benefit projection tool. And then consider calling EY, register for EY Navigate. So this website here, you have the ability to go in and set up an account with EY. What that will allow you to do is see the financial planner that you've been assigned, see their bio, and then you can also share your WestPath account with your planner. And what that allows them to do, it allows them to see your account. So that way it's easier, it's quicker. You don't have to tell them the amounts of and all the different benefits that you have available. So they can actually view it. They can't make any changes. They can only view. They can view only, but and I do that with my EY financial planner. They can see my account, so it does make it easier to navigate. And then these are just two additional resources. So the retirement team phone number right there, and then the WestPath participant solutions above. Are there any questions? Okay, if you wanted to take a maybe 10-minute break, come back at 11:37. Okay, perfect. Welcome back. Thank you. Thanks for coming back. You can get to benefits access just by going to westpath.org and then clicking the benefits access button there and then logging in. And what you'll see when you log in is all the benefits that you have available through WestPath. This is a dummy account. It's actually Clergy 4 is the name of the account. Clergy 4 is also married. And if you left click over retirement, you'll then have these titles down below show up. And if you click on accounts, then you could select account summary. And that's where you'll find that link with the gentleman to the glasses. Oh, I should say, as long as you've notified everybody, you've notified the Board of Ordained Ministry, the annual conference, the bishop, and then WestPath, we're the last to know. But we get notified, and then of that you're intending to retire, we add this link. So this is the link with the gentleman with the glasses. Clicking on that brings us into the area to select your benefits. And we're working up here. And I should say, can everybody see my screen? Yeah, okay. We're still working. All right. While it's working, I'll just point out at the bottom of that account summary page, you'll see your defined benefits. And in this case, this example, clergy person has 2 years of pre-82. So we see that benefit here out of West Virginia. And then above that, we had the 2 service periods for CRSP-DB. And I knew as soon as I started talking about that, it would switch screens. When you are working on this at home, it's going to be a lot quicker. This is a demo site, and it's a demo site that we're displaying through Zoom or through Teams. So that'll be a little slower. You'll get a better response when you're working on your account from home. Up top, we see retirement benefits. In the middle section, that's kind of like looks like the benefit projection, doesn't it? Instead of at the top, here on the left, we have the annuity payments. That's lifetime payment. Pre-82, MPP annuity, CRSP-DB. That amounts to $2,411. The MPP annuity and the CRSP-DB will get calculated based on, if you're married, it'd be a joint annuity. If you're single, this would be a single. And the COLA, the cost of living adjustment for both of those, is 2%. Pre-82 is determined by the annual conference. In the middle section here, we have the account balances calculated as life stage retirement income. So what we've asked is to say, show us what 35% of MPP, what CRSP-DC, and your UMPIP account, how much would that generate? So right here it's saying it's $1,698 for a total of $4,109. Doesn't include Social Security. That would be in addition to. As we scroll to the bottom or into the middle, now we have the term lifetime income, and that goes back to the benefit projection. Lifetime income, CRSPDB, MPP annuity, pre-82. If we click Get Started on pre-82, I'm sorry, CRSPDB, got pre-82 on the mind. So then we're going to select the CRSPDB benefit. It's a 7-step process, and there's something to do with each of those different steps. So first off, we have to pick a benefit commencement date. So let's say Clergy 4 will retire on July 1 of 25. And then continue. So that was easy. Next up, we designate the contingent annuitant. Clergy 4 is married to Janice, and we verify that all that information of Janice's is correct. You would, of course, see your spouse if married. You would verify that is correct above, and that you would leave that designated. You're going to designate your spouse as the recipient of this benefit. Step 3, select form of benefit. And this is what I mentioned a little bit earlier. You'll see all of the different benefits laid out. So this is the first service period for CRSPDB from 2007 through 2013. The default is life in 70. So that payment is $428. And then as we scroll down, you'll see this is the second service period, beginning January 1 of 14 through January, actually through December. So benefit paid in January. Life in 70, another $478. You could have a different annuity type for the first or second service period of CRSPDB, but the COLA applies to both. So let's scroll down and look at the COLA. So we're life in 70, 428, life in 70, 478. And now let's go down and we say, how about a 5% COLA? So that dropped 478, 428, and that was 428 to 294. So that's a life in 70 and a 5% COLA. We can adjust it to 4. So pretty cool that it moves real time. If you're unsure about a COLA and what you should select, that's a great opportunity to have a phone call with EY or have a phone call with your financial planner. Now this is your withholding. So step 4 of 7, this is income tax withholding, federal income tax on your monthly distribution. So this is a step in all of the benefits that you could choose. So pre-82, MPP, CRSP, and also in life stage or that monthly cash account distribution. This step is in each of those. You may have a conversation with your tax preparer if you use somebody for that. This is something that you can also change along the way. So early on, if you didn't want to have Westpath withhold it, you can always have Westpath withhold it at a later date. So I've been told that you can adjust this accordingly. This looks like a tax form. So it's a W-4. So you're able to indicate your number of withholdings, the amount, any additional. If you scroll down here, check here if you do not want federal income tax withheld on your payments. So for this, to make it easier to complete the demo, let's leave it at that. But you can always go in and take a look at this and then have that conversation with your tax preparer. So we click that. And now the bank information is step 5. This has already been entered once. So this is a dummy account number, dummy routing number. As soon as you enter it once, it'll appear on your other benefit choices. So if you do CRSPDB first, and then you do MPP, your bank account will be pre-populated. So you only have to enter it once. Step 6 is just to verify it. You'll want to review each of these sections. So it's we did a life in 70 and a 4% COLA. Estimated payment. Here's spouse's information here. First payment begin January 1 of 25. The decision on income tax. Bank information. Then you'll want to read through this and check that you did and click submit. I always suggest to print this page. So this is a confirmation. So for this example, the last business day of December is Tuesday, December 31st. So I would need to make this decision by December 31st, 3 p.m. Central, for me to get begin benefits in January. So it's always the last business day of the month by 3 p.m. And then we scroll down. We click this, and it'll bring us back to that home page to select all the other benefits. So it brings you right back. What we see here, CRSPDB, now shows pending. Pending is good. Pending means that you've made all those choices. Come December 31st at 3 p.m. Central, I'm no longer able to select my annuity or change my annuity type or change my COLA. Those are permanent decisions once that last business day of the month rolls around, okay? For those who are retiring July 1 of next year, it's June 30th at 3 p.m. Central is the deadline. Let's say you go in February and you make all your choices, and then from February to maybe middle of April, you're thinking about your choices, and then you decide, oh, I want to change my COLA, or I want a life in 5 years certain. You're able to go in and cancel it and then start over. So as long as we haven't gotten to June 30th at 3 p.m. Central, you're able to change it. So I just clicked cancel. And here's an overview of the benefit. And then cancel pending. Yes. Okay. So now we have no actions pending. So we'll navigate back to the link with the gentleman with the glasses. And that pending should replace with a get started. Selecting your MPP annuity and or pre-82 is pretty straightforward. It's just like that CRSP DB. Let's take a look at life stage retirement income or the cash distribution payments. So everybody that is eligible to retire will have the ability to do the modeling. If you're eligible to retire, that means you don't have that link yet. But you get to the life stage, click on distribution, and then click on life stage retirement income. So everybody that is eligible to retire has the modeling tool in their account. It's just shown here. Remember how we talked about the different types of distributions? If you wanted to take a lump sum distribution, you'd use this link here. If you wanted to set up monthly installments or monthly payments, and you choose how much, we call that self-managed retirement income. Okay. The other way is to use life stage retirement income. Have that calculate your monthly payment. And over to the right, we see that familiar slide, right? So let's click Get Started. This portion, or actually all of Benefits Access, is designed to be used. You can't break it. We encourage folks to roll up their sleeves and get used to the options you have and the choices you can make, and then what the outcome of that is. So I used this earlier in the week as a demo. So some of this is pre-populated, but let's go through it anyway. When you go through, it'll start up as program overview. This is Martin. He's my boss. This 4-minute video does a great job of explaining the 3 features of life stage retirement income. We click Get Started, and it'll take us to your Social Security estimate. Your first option is to choose here. So you'd need to choose not receiving Social Security benefits in order to use the bridge. So we'll keep it as not receiving benefits, and then we're going to enter the Social Security benefit at full retirement age. So we'll click Submit. I'm just saying 1,500. And now it'll bring us to the MPP option. So 65% of MPP options, we can keep it as an annuity, or we could say move it into life stage retirement income. If I were to click that button, you'll see these values change a little bit because it changes how those payments are calculated. So if you're including the 65% into the account balance, you'll see that it got a little bit more conservative. In the amount that you're getting out per month. So let's keep it at 65%. And then we'll go to the funding stage. And the funding stage is where you get to decide how much money you want to have included in that MPP calculation. These are account balances, so it is flexible, and you can make choices or changes as necessary. So I just went back and I added the full amount. So the first time you go into this portion of the account, it'll default to the full amount, calculating the monthly payment. So $599,000, the monthly payment is $4,400. And that $4,400 is a combination of the MPP annuity for $1,422, and then the actual payment from life stage retirement income payment is $2,978. And that includes life stage and the $1,500 MPP annuity. I'm sorry, the $1,500 Social Security estimate. So that $2,978 represents your Social Security bridge and your life stage payment. Then as we look to the right, you'll see MPP is still there. Now the total is $5,440. MPP is still there. It looks a little bigger. It's grown. So now it's $1,705 versus $1,422. Social Security has started. That's now 2333 from 1500 initially. And then now the life stage retirement income payment's 1402. So it dropped just about in half. At 80, we chose not to do the longevity income. We'll do that in the next step. But you'll see how each of these numbers have grown and how they represent that total. If you wanted to include, or if you wanted to leave money out of that equation for life stage, so now we're going to put in 540. So now there's basically 50,000, 59,000 that's sitting, still invested, waiting for something to happen. Now the payment, instead of 4707, it's 4233, and now the payment starts at 2810. So lots of fun stuff. That $59,000 that I have outside of this life stage retirement income payment, I can go back to at a later date, put the money in, or take a distribution. So now that we funded life stage, let's take a look at the Social Security bridge. And this little slider will move this middle column. So we start with 4233, $2,810 is life stage retirement income. And then here at 70, you'll see the payment from life stage dropped to 1192. But we can, what would that look like at 70 or 69? So 5229 total, 5,081. So pretty neat how it changes real time. And then if we choose the longevity income, it's going to change these numbers. So it was defaulted to do not include. So that's 4233, 5229. So with taking the longevity income protection, your initial monthly payment is increased a couple $100 because it knows it has that guaranteed income coming in toward the end or at 80. So let's take a little closer look at this. So the monthly payment would be $911.89. So here it's rounded to $912. So that's income that would begin at 80. When you began the benefit, or the benefit would begin on 1/1 of 2044, when this participant turns 80, it cost them 7%, and what they would pay on January 1 would be $40,248. So definitely something to consider. And then next up is to review and enroll. And this just provides an overview of those key steps that we looked at. And then all we do is click continue. And it's set up to respond about the same as picking the CRSP DB benefit. So we pick the date that we want it to begin. Here's our withholding. And for ease, I'm just going to click do not. Bank information is shown here. Huh. Okay. I haven't seen that before. But I'm sure it's a function of, it might not like the number. But it's as simple as that. This is a two-step process. The initial portion is the worksheet, and then the review and enroll is you'll need to go in and make the same choices you made above in the review and enroll section. Any questions? Any concerns? No? Excellent.
Is there any way to access that stuff just to get your estimated? I mean, if we're not ready to retire this year, but to get an accurate picture of what we might have?
Everybody who has at least 30 years of service or has reached 62 would be considered eligible to retire. So based on that, as long as you have 30 years of service or reach the age of 62, you'll be able to click on retirement, click on distribution, and you should see life stage retirement income. When you click that, it'll essentially bring you to where we were. We just got there from a different starting point.
So you could run through it all and just not save your changes. Is that it?
Yes. And I think you could even zero them out, but we generally don't. Yeah, we generally use these all retirement season. So, but when you go in the first time, and the worksheet's okay, you can go in and use the worksheet and use these steps as much as you want. It'll just save what you'd previously worked on. But you'd need to be you'd need to have an impending retired status coming, right? In order to enter it in the review and enroll. So you wouldn't necessarily be able to do the review and enroll because you wouldn't be in soon to be retired status.
Correct.
Okay. One other piece. If you click on, sure.
Marty has a question.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
I was distracted at the beginning of all this. You choose either the life stage or those other three little get started.
Yes.
One or the other.
Yes. The others would include for the retiring in 25. So if you click on retirement, click on accounts, and then click on account summary. Once Westpath has processed your retirement date, so this clergy person's retiring January 1, they have the link to the gentleman with the glasses. If you're retiring July 1 of 25, you'll get an email or a letter from Westpath that will say, congratulations, you can now go into your benefits access account and begin reviewing and selecting your benefits, probably around end of August to maybe middle of February that you'll get those emails. And then at that point, you're able to go in, this link is here, you'll click that link, and then you're on the home page for all the benefit selection. And it's working. If, let's say, you're 62 and you don't know when you're going to retire, but you want to take a look at it, you're still able to look at the life stage retirement income under the distributions title. Does that make sense? And then if you only wanted to start CRSPDB July 1 of 25, you could go in and get that started and leave the rest untouched until you need it. Or RMD. if you go under profile and then click on account management, you'll need this number to set up your account at EY. Now, you don't have to use EY, but we always say that it's helpful to set up that account because you get to see a picture and a name and a bio of your financial planner. And they also have a bunch of calculators and information and tools. If you've ever laid awake late at night wondering, oh, I have $100,000 at 3%. How much can I take out for it to each month and have it last at least 20 years? There's calculators that will be able to do that for you. And you'll need that P number to set up your account. The other piece, too, would be the EY authorization. The default is for it to be off. If you wanted your planner to see your information, they can't make any changes to your account. But if you wanted to save some of the conversation, you'll be able to say yes or on, and then they'll be able to view your account balances. And then Westpath will communicate with you based on how you indicate here. So this is mail. So we would mail you a letter in January, mid to end of January, to say, congratulations, you're ready to retire. You can go into your benefits access account and select your benefits. If you move that to email, then you would just get that email. You'd get that communication that you can begin to select your benefits through email. And then let's real quick look at beneficiaries. So beneficiaries, you can find under profile, click there. Primary beneficiary is typically spouse, secondary are kids typically. So that looks like it's set up correct. Perfect. Any questions before we take a break? Is everybody just hungry? I am. Okay. Joanne, we're coming back at 1?
Yep.
Okay. We have a special guest though.
We do.
We have Catherine from EY. So she'll present a section from 1 to 2 and then from 2 to 3. And then Joanne, we have you with health benefits, right?
Yep, with VIA benefits. And
Awesome. I couldn't
HRAs.
think of a better way to spend the day.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you at 1.
Thank you, everyone.